This is a tutorial guide that will assist you to have a better understanding of the Performance Appraisal Management System form. Throughout the company, you may hear the term PAMS. It relates to this assessment. The PAMS form is used as part of the overall assessment process to measure and improve performance. The form clarifies performance expectations, provides the ability to evaluate results, and identify future developmental needs that are needed for performance excellence. In this first section, the appraiser will fill out the basic information as it relates to the appraisee. Here, under division or department, the appraiser will state which department you work in. For example, your department might be HR support or employee relations or any other department that applies to you. Next, your appraiser will select either probationary appraisal or performance appraisal based on your standings. Probationary appraisal will be selected if you have just passed your 6 months probation period, either as a full-time permanent or contract staff. On the other hand, your appraiser will select performance appraisal if the assessment is part of your annual performance appraisal process conducted at the end of the fiscal year or at the end of your contracted term. Moreover, there are some common fields that are required, such as your name, position, or age. Your appraiser will then state your corresponding job role as either an executive, professional, manager, or staff. Your appraiser will select staff with leadership if you are in a senior position having staff reporting directly to you. If you do not have staff reporting to you, then your appraiser will select staff without leadership. Your appraiser will then continue to fill out the corresponding fields with the period that the appraisal covers, time that you have been in your present position, your length of service, appraisal date and time, appraisal venue, and lastly, appraiser's name. In Part A, the appraisee will be evaluated based on the behavior that they consistently demonstrate. These proficiency level will be selected as either developing, good, or outstanding. If you receive a developing proficiency level, this means that you have demonstrated low competency level and is performing below job requirements. Secondly, if you receive a good proficiency level, it means that you are consistently demonstrating capable or satisfactory performance. Both what you produce and how it is produced have met standards and expectations of your position. In other words, you are competent in your work. Lastly, if you receive an outstanding proficiency level, you are an employee that demonstrates an excellent competency level that exceeds the job requirements. You are known to be extraordinary competent and productive, whereby you might often be sought by others for counsel and assistance. At times, you may be recognized as a role model. The new competency model offers certainty and clarity of expectations. Each competency is clearly defined. It has a clear competency title, for example, communication, a definition of the competency that is being assessed, and key behavior indicators that clearly clarifies what each proficiency level is measuring and what performance or behavior is expected at each level. These behavioral indicators are read by columns and are intended to be used as a general guide when conducting the performance appraisal, so that the evaluation of the employee performance is consistent and support meaningful differentiation among performance of individual employees. The competencies being assessed as well as the key behavior indicators differ based on job roles. For this tutorial, the competencies applying to those senior staff with direct staff reporting to them will be demonstrated. Now let us take a look at communication. If you receive a rating scale of developing for communication, this simply means that at times you fail to actively listen. In addition, you cannot express your views clearly and concisely while using confusing jargons or terminology. If you receive a rating scale of good communication, it means that you listen attentively, consistently, while asking questions when you need clarification. If you receive a rating scale of outstanding for communication, it means that you use different kind of communication systems, methodologies, and strategies in order to promote dialogue and shared understanding. Furthermore, you communicate strategically to achieve objectives. Secondly, there is customer focus. It is very important to have a good rating scale for customer focus, whereas you deliver thoughtful service by keeping internal and external customers in mind at all times, striving for customer satisfaction. Your appraiser might rate your customer focus as developing, which means that you do not do enough to identify customers' needs and you need to start to keep customers updated on progress. If you receive good as your rating scale for customer focus, it means that you consider everyone you come in contact with while identifying and meeting their needs. If you receive outstanding as your rating scale, it means you are understanding clients' perspective, whereas you identify constraints and also advise on their behalf. In addition, you will encourage coworkers and teams to achieve a high standard of service excellence. Thirdly, your appraiser will rate you based on if you are results driven. This looks at the drive you have toward desired results, either individually or departmentally, by setting goals that are challenging while meeting or exceeding them. Your appraiser might rate your results driven as developing, which means your level of production is insufficient to accomplish needed results. In simple terms, you are unable to manage and prioritize assignments. If you receive good as your rating scale, it means you maintain and exceeds a level of production that leads to exemplary results. In addition, you complete assignments ahead of schedule and you are able to manage and prioritize assignments in order to achieve timeliness while still producing quality work. If you receive outstanding as your rating scale, it means that you are exceeding current expectations and you push for improved results in own performance. In addition, you consistently complete assignments ahead of deadlines and is able to manage several tasks without compromising with the performance level. Fourthly, your appraiser will rate you based on your ability to work in teams. When someone is a team player, they can work in group setting, either as a team contributor or team leader to successfully complete assignments and achieve common goals. If you receive a rating scale of developing for teamwork, it means you are insufficient in working with other team members and often lack respect and consideration for others. If you receive a rating scale of good, it means you are able to build relationship with team members and ensure that the tasks are done on time. In addition, when dealing with problems or issues, you are honest and respectful in regards to team members and accept the full responsibility for the team's actions and results. If you receive a rating scale of outstanding for teamwork, it means that you build relationships with team members by facilitating collaboration with all stakeholders to achieve a common goal. Fifthly, your appraiser will rate you based on your thoroughness. This looks at your performance in relation to your task. Your work should be complete, accurate, and up to standard. If you receive a rating scale of developing for thoroughness, it means that you are inconsistent in producing work that meets the required standard. If you receive a rating scale of good, it means that you consistently produce reliable and error-free work. If you receive a rating scale of outstanding, it means that you proactively sets up procedures to ensure high quality of work standards and work output. Lastly, there is leadership. You will only be appraised on this core competency if you have staff that reports to you. Leadership is providing vision, guidance, and motivation to a department or team so they can work together to achieve the same goal. If you receive a rating scale of developing for this core competency, it means that you make little effort to define team objectives or coordinate with the team, but rather leaving them to work on their own. If you receive a rating scale of good, it means that you build strategies which coordinate effort across the team to deliver clear team objectives while you consistently communicate progress with team members. If you receive a rating scale of outstanding for this competency, it means that you define and communicate short and long-term goals or plans based on the company's strategy while you communicate these clearly inside and outside the team. Based on your performance, your appraiser will select the proficiency level, whether developing, good, or outstanding, by shading in the appropriate response for each competency. Once this is completed, the appraiser will move on to the next section, Part A2, that is, the core competency weighting. Based on how you were rated previously in Section A1, based on your proficiency level, Part A2 is where the weighting and scores fall in place. Each one of the proficiency level has an equivalent weight. Staff with leadership. If you receive a developing rating score, it has a 7.5 equivalent weight. If you receive a good rating score, it has a 12.5 equivalent score. And if you receive an outstanding rating score, it has a 16.7 equivalent weight. Staff without leadership. If you receive a developing rating score, it has a 9 equivalent weight. If you receive a good rating score, it has a 15 equivalent score. And if you receive an outstanding rating score, it has a 20 equivalent weight. Executives, professionals, managers. If you receive a developing rating score, it has a 5 equivalent weight. If you receive a good rating score, it has a 10.5 equivalent score. And if you receive an outstanding rating score, it has a 14.3 equivalent weight. The appraiser will then select the score that correlates to each competency according to the previously shaded responses. The total sum received after scoring each competency is used to identify the appraisee's overall performance rating as it relates to PAMS. Thereafter, the below rating scale is used to identify if the appraisee is consistently able to perform their tasks at a developing, good, or outstanding level. This table shows the appraisee's overall proficiency rating and their corresponding points scale in percentage form. An employee receives an overall rating of developing if their sum is between 0 and 62%. If their score is within 63 and 89%, they receive a good rating. And if they receive an overall score between 90 and 100%, they receive an outstanding rating. Before we move on to Part A3, it is imperative to note that if an appraisee receives an overall score between 0 and 62%, they will be placed on a performance improvement plan, also known as a PIP. This plan is developed by the staff's immediate supervisor or manager with input from HR. It is designed to facilitate constructive discussion between an employee and his or her manager or supervisor to clarify the exact work performance that the employee is expected to achieve, areas needing improvements, and to state the plan of action that will help the employee attain the desired level of performance. A PIP can be implemented throughout the fiscal year or at the performance appraisal period when it becomes necessary to help a staff member improve his or her performance, of which a member of HR can be contacted for more information on this plan. In Part A3 is the overall performance assessment rating. Simply, the appraiser will select the overall proficiency level that is applicable based on his or her overall assessment in Part A2. For instance, if the appraisee received a total sum of 84%, they will receive a good rating, thus good will be selected. Here we have Part A4. In this section, your appraiser will simply provide you with a reasoned explanation for the overall assessment that was provided to you in Part A3. Your appraiser should provide supporting statements that accurately reflect their observations of your performance for each competency, as well as state ways in which they will assist you with improving any improvement areas. Part A5 is the consultation section. While your manager or supervisor is responsible for conducting the performance evaluation, the consultation section of the performance appraisal forms encourages managers or supervisors to seek input from others that you may have collaborated with or who may have supported you in performing your job duties throughout the appraisal period. Emails or comments will be attached in this section for those individuals who have contributed to your assessment. Once Part A5 is completed, the form is then presented to the countersigning manager to review the appraisal and provide input prior to the appraisee receiving their performance appraisal form. Thereafter, the appraiser is given the performance appraisal form to review within a minimum of 24 hours before the appraisal interview and discussions are held. In Part A6 is where you, as the appraisee, will insert your comments in regards to your performance appraisal. Once your comments are inserted, both you and your appraiser will need to sign and insert the date. Should you receive either a developing or outstanding rating level, your C level will need to sign off. Upon sign off, all completed performance appraisals form PAF should be submitted to the Office of Human Resources by the deadline set forth. Part B is the appeal process. If you are dissatisfied with your appraisal score and you wish to appeal, then you have the right to do so and submit an appeal to the Office of Human Resources within 2 weeks of completing the performance appraisal. With the proper submission of documentation to the Office of Human Resources, the appeal process should take less than 1 month. The appeal must have been heard through the following escalation process. First, you address it to the reporting manager. If that doesn't work, you address it to the general manager of your division, and if that still doesn't follow, you report it to C level, and last of all, the general manager of human resources. Last of all, there is a section called Part C, which is for HR purposes only. You don't need to worry about that section, but simply leave it as it is. The performance management process gives BTL the opportunity to demonstrate the intent of their employee relations philosophy. By the use of this process, your commitment and contributions are recognized, whereby it is known to foster increased employee engagement and performance. For more information, you can review the performance appraisal facts. And of course, thank you for your time and for watching this tutorial.